Hey, I'm Supats, lifelong solopreneur. Now living my life with only one passion to help solopreneurs to launch their digital products on fast track so that they can be profitable as fast as within 1 week, and they want to scale, they can join the membership. And as a bonus, I show them how they can sell their digital products all over the world using affiliates. Without further delay, let's get started. Welcome to New Beginning Inspiration for You podcast. And as our promise, you will have a guest today who is going to inspire your life, who is going to make your life and business the way better than it was there before. Because let me give you the background. This person is really unique and special. Okay, if you just hear his accolades, you will say, okay, I want to know what he is going to tell me. He took 5 companies public, and it is not easy to take one company public, because I know my husband was involved into startups. It's not at all easy, and taking 5 companies public, it's a lot. Okay, he raised over $100 million in investments. Okay, he launched over 1,000 beverages and consumer goods with entrepreneurs and celebrities. I don't even know that many are there. Okay, but he did it. Okay, he wrote now actually 10 books. I have written some books, I haven't even published it. So I'm going to learn from him. What should I do next and how can I publish? And he wrote books on marketing and branding. It's such a vital area, because if someone cannot stand out in the business, it's mainly because they don't know their branding, and of course, marketing too. Then he grew up without running water or electricity. Can you believe that? It's really unbelievable even for me, because I came from third world country, okay, and I had running water and I had electricity. So he is really special. And lastly, he suffered a traumatic brain injury. I was bedridden for 1 year, but mine was just a spinal injury. It was not a brain injury. And people I know who had brain injury, I know how much their life changed. But here, the first example I'm seeing that even after brain injury, someone is pouring his heart and his life into other people's well-being. So without further delay, let me invite George Olson. Stage is all yours, because all these points I mentioned, I want to know each and everything about it, because it is really amazing. Even if I get to know about one thing, it will be really life changing. It looks like, say, I mentioned 6 points. I need 6 podcast episodes to address each and every point, because every point is so special, so critical for any human being. So let's get started. I want to know about where did you grow up, because without running water and electricity and all. I want to know more about that. Let's get started with your journey
Sure.
from your childhood, and then of course we'll come to your, hey, all these accolades and all the achievements. Let's
Outstanding.
get started.
Yes, I grew up in Tijuana, across the border from San Diego, where I live now, in Mexico, in the north of Mexico. For those who are listening internationally, that's at the border with the U.S. and Mexico on the west coast side, San Diego and Tijuana. I grew up in Tijuana with carrying buckets of water about 100 yards, 120 yards to get them home since I was 10 years old. Uh, Going to the store and bringing petroleum for our petroleum lamps and candles for our candles, right? What would get you in trouble now with the police, sending a 10-year-old to get petroleum? That's what I did. That's the way I grew up. That was my reality. And when you don't know another reality, that's the norm. And when I learned that that wasn't the norm for everybody, is when I started thinking about change and changing my mindset towards my own reality. And okay, there has to be something better than carrying buckets of water when you're 10 years old. My mom and my grandma worked two jobs. I grew up with them. Seeing them work 12, 14, 18-hour days. My grandma was a door-to-door saleswoman, selling to local businesses door to door, cold calling, walking for 8 hours, 10 hours per day to get the business to pay the bills. So that was my example. There was no money at the house, no talk about financial literacy or economics or even business. However, I had philosophy, literature, art, and kindness in my home. And really, that's more important than money. So I did receive all of this wealth in the form of love and knowledge. My mom finished college when I was around 12 years old, philosophy and literature. This is why I love writing fiction and nonfiction books, because I grew up with 10,000 books in the house, and a teacher,
Oh, wow.
every corner in my house was stacked with books. Instead of plates in the kitchen, instead of plates and glasses, we had books. We had books on top of books, on the side of books, everywhere. So being so close to books and I started late with books. Now I see kids carrying their book when they're 8, 7. I really rejected that because my mom forced me to do it. So I rejected reading until I discovered on my own at about maybe 10. I discovered mythology. We had an encyclopedia of mythology, and I found it, and I was on the floor with this thick 3-inch, 4-inch book of mythology. And wait, this is reading? It's telling stories in your head? This is fabulous. I actually like reading. Then I discovered astronomy, and in my head, astronomy was science fiction. So when I was reading astronomy, for me, I was really doing research for writing science fiction 40 years later, because I told the story in my head of black holes and traveling through a black hole or through wormholes or to different galaxies, etc. So that's the way I grew up. I commuted to school into the US, into college, and I had a 4 to 8 hour commute every day because I have to walk, take buses, cross the border by foot, and then take the trolley and buses on the US side. So what I did with my time is I would read one book or one audiobook at that time. Remember books on tape? I had my Walkman with my books on tape, and I would listen to one a day because I had so much time, and these were not novels, right? They were nonfiction books, which are typically 200 to 300 pages. You can read them in maybe 5 hours or listen to them in 5 hours. So this is how I gained knowledge. And my main focus was at that stage when I was in college, self-help and learning to learn. So I focused a lot on learning to learn, on self-awareness, mindfulness. I studied Western philosophy with my mom, but I started studying Eastern philosophy by my own when I was about 20. And I really liked it. It was very different from the Greeks and the Europeans. So I really gravitated towards the mindfulness, meditative aspect of Eastern philosophy. Later, by the way, I taught martial arts, which is basically is Eastern philosophy externalized with exercise, right? But that was my journey as a kid, as a young adult, going to college, in starting in school in Mexico, transitioning to the U.S. and which is something. This phenomenon is very specific to border towns where you can commute to school and to work and cross the border every day. So even after college, I crossed the border every day for work.
This is really amazing journey. I got lots of points, but I want to mention the 2 points mainly. your grandma did door to door sales, and I think that is the hardest way, because that needs lot of courage. It is not easy. Okay, it is absolutely not easy, because I know that the way the business is situated. But so you had the best example. And second thing, you had lots of books. That is the greatest wealth any parent can give to their kids. Whenever the dictators, they want to overpower their country or world and all, the first thing they do, they
Yes.
burn books, because books are knowledge, and that is what they want to avoid. And you were actually loaded with knowledge. I think that is the best wealth you had growing up. That is really great opportunity you had. And even I commuted but didn't cross the border. But my commute was also like that, means we had to walk and then take a train, then again change the train, again walk. So I commuted like 4 or 5 hours every day. But I wish I had used your wisdom of listening to book that time. I did not do that. If I had done that, I think I would have been way wiser now. But anyway, it's never too late. So that was really a great point you mentioned. But that really brought you where you are right now, because you had such a humble beginning that really made you really ready for your business. And business is never a straight line, and it's never always like a straight going up, because there are always up and down, and it is not for the faint hearted people. And I think you had developed your character, and that's why you could survive in the business. So let's talk more about that. So you helped so many people, and remember mentioning here point here in your profile that the world is not sensitive, but how can sensitive people succeed in business? Because you are such a tender heart, you want to help people, and you had a humble beginning. So tell me more of your perspective
Oh
about
my,
that.
that's such a wonderful point and question. And you're right. Business is cutthroat. It's not nice. And and I learned that the hard way. I learned that people will not pay you and say, "So what? What are you going to do about it?" I learned all of these lessons because in my businesses, if I needed to make payroll, I used my money to make payroll, and I saw other entrepreneurs, they miss payroll. For example, this is just one example. Oh, the business didn't make enough money. Yes, but you banked $1 million last year, right? And you don't want to pay your employees. What are you gonna? So yes, business is not kind. My last book, by the way, it's called Marketing Karma, and it's about kindness. It's about using karma, which is Eastern philosophy in the West. Now, in the East, you just call it karma. You don't need to call it marketing karma. People understand what it is. I have to call it marketing karma so that business people, especially, would understand the meaning behind karma and what it would mean for a business person, which is what you just mentioned. You have to be kind. You have to take care of others. You start with your employees, not with your customers. You start with your employees because you have a responsibility towards your employees. This is the way I see it. So you have a responsibility towards your employees to change their lives. Otherwise, why are you in business? Just to make money? You're not going to take that, but you will take the karma with you, but not the money. And what you plant will stay, and they will help other people, even your family and your kids or grandkids or nephews or whoever's part of your tribe. And when I started as an employee. I finished college, and I had a mentor who I met in San Diego, and he took me to Germany. So I started my career in the software industry as a software consultant in Germany, in Spain, Holland, France, Western Germany, Belgium. I lived in Germany and in Spain. And I advanced very quickly because I had a good mentor, and he taught me how to advance within the business. He was the COO of the company, and he transferred me back to the US, where I became CEO of US operations at 28 years old. And I broke the record in sales for the company, earlier sales. They told me, go give the software away, because the software is in German and nobody's going to buy it. So give it away. We will translate it as we install it, and then we will use it as a showcase, because this is $1 million to $5 million software, ERP software. And then we will bring other companies to see it, and then we will charge. And I said, yeah, if I don't charge, I'm not going to make any money. So then I remember I came back from my first sales trip. I was on the road all the time, like a salesperson. And by the way, I looked so young that when I got into the meetings, they would ask me, where's your dad? Because I looked 18. I looked like I was a tall, skinny kid. And I would have to explain, this is not my dad's company. I'm actually an employee, right? And then I would have to spend half an hour explaining myself. And I came back with the check for my first big lead. And I remember my boss was in the US at the time, not in Germany. He was on the floor laughing. He couldn't believe that I came back with the check. He called the owner. He called every branch sales manager from all over the world. Can you believe this kid? He came back with the check, a $250,000 check. So immediately it's, what do you want? Well, I need a car. I need a place to stay, because I'm crossing the border every day. So he got me an apartment in the most expensive part of San Diego, first in Coronado, then in La Jolla, company car, vacations, trips to Europe. I was a superstar by now, because I was generating income. And this was a big lesson for me. Wait, so when I was a consultant, and he was charging $1,000 a day for me, they didn't see that as an achievement. Even though the customer's happy, I'm providing a service, I'm doing the work. And in this company, as in your own business as well, if you don't perform with money, it's just busy work. If you're checking your email, your Instagram, it's busy work. You have to perform. And when I started realizing this, I took this to heart. In order to make a difference in the eyes of employers, I need to generate revenue, and then I will get revenue, which is karma as well. But now it's karma coins, right? You're cashing in. I left when my mentor left, I left as well, that company. And I went to another software company, because I was a software guy. I was only 29, and I applied for vice president only, because even though I was young, I didn't want to go back and be a director or manager. And I did get a job as vice president of business development for another software company. And I grew that one as well, using the best practices that I learned and all of the marketing that I have accumulated. And by the way, I've been studying influence in marketing since I was 12 years old. I took it seriously since I was 16. I took it very seriously. Clipping magazines and ads and writing notes on them and reading about it. I called it influence before I learned that if you apply it towards business, you call it marketing. But in my head, it was influence. For example, when you convince your kid not to use drugs, that's influence. Either you will convince them not to use drugs, or the drug dealer will convince them to use drugs, right? Both of you need influence. And that's the way I saw influence. And then if you turn it into a campaign, now it's marketing. And this is the way I learned marketing, through influence. And now I wanted to be an entrepreneur, because I reached all of my goals when I was 28, all of my financial goals. Yes, I retired my grandma and my mom from my first paycheck. I sent 50% of all of my money home when I was in Europe. Luckily, the company paid for my lunch, for my car, and for my apartment, which was a suite in a hotel, if you can imagine. I went from no running water in Tijuana to a suite in Germany with a car, right? So all of my dreams, oh, and traveling for a year through Europe, which is also one of my lifetime goals. So I achieved my travel goals. I achieved my monetary goals. I retired my mom and my grandma. I bought a house, put water, electricity, cable, washer, dryer, the luxuries, which we take for granted now, but for me was making it, right? I made it in life. Now I wanted my time back because, as you can imagine, I was working 12 hours a day, sometimes 18 hours a day. I wanted my time. So I said, okay, I already know how to make money. I have to learn how to make time. For this, I can't be an employee anymore because no matter what, my employer will need even if I outperform everybody, it doesn't matter. I need to work my 40 hours plus. So I bought a business. Instead, I didn't know you could start a business so easily back then because it was my first business. So I bought a business in San Diego, California. This was not a software company. I moved completely. And by the way, by now I was already an expert or a perceived expert in the ERP world for meat packaging, specifically food companies, an expert in project management software, and I did it through writing articles for magazines. This is the way I positioned myself as an expert, and videos. Back then it was audios because we didn't have webinars or video, but we had teleseminars. Remember those? So I would invite people to a teleseminar, and this is the way I answered questions and then sold the software. I moved into wholesale distribution, positioned myself as an expert in wholesale distribution, and the gentleman who sold me the business became my mentor. He was an older gentleman. He had this business for 30 years. So I learned 30 years in a year because I was with him 12 hours a day, on the road, at trade shows, opening accounts one by one in the truck, merchandising accounts. I was merchandising, creating products. I created 1,000 products when I was in this company, imported 20 container loads from China per month, unloaded them, learned direct response marketing, learned e-commerce because we would sell e-commerce as well. I drop shipped to stores. I learned how to open accounts, corporate accounts like Walgreens, Walmart, CVS pharmacies, etc. Both convenience stores and supermarkets. And I had my own trucks in San Diego where we delivered. I had my own trucks in Orange County, Irvine, and Phoenix. And then I used direct response marketing and training to recruit distributors all over the country. I trained them and I opened 17,000 stores through this network of people that I trained personally. They weren't distributors before. There were a lot of military, so young, retired, 38, 39. I had a lot of father and daughter teams that they wanted to start a business for their daughter or their son, but do it with them. So they were in the truck with their kid, teaching them the ropes, how to open accounts, how to be your own boss, how to not have a boss from the start, which I thought that was beautiful. I'm most proud of that from that business that I helped train people and put them into business, and they made a living, and then they taught their kids. That was the best part. Then, Sue, I started with beverages. I started carrying beverages first and then training these beverage companies on how to sell. I sold my business. I wrote the book, Build Your Beverage Empire, and became an expert now in my fourth industry, which was the beverage industry. That book I wrote 15 years ago. It's now on its third edition, and it's used in 200 universities that I know of around the world. English speaking, Spanish speaking, and then I don't know what else because I lost track. They don't tell me. And I find out from the students too. I don't find out from the teachers or from the schools. The students reach out to me usually. And I found that, and I asked, where are you in the world? And this is how I find out that my book is in Stanford, and my book is in Harvard, and my book is in Australia, and my book is in India, and my book is in Mexico, and all of these beautiful countries. And that was my rude awakening into business, with people not paying me, people owing, and people just saying sue me, right? So I didn't understand it. I didn't want to adopt it either. I said, I have to stay in business, but stay a good person, ethical, kind, not fall into this trap, and then get away from those people, because I don't invite them into my network. I fire them as clients. I don't do business with them. And a lot of people that have bad business practices, for them it's normal, and they don't understand why I don't want to do business with them anymore. And they're like, so what? I didn't pay you once. I paid you the other times. And I'm like, yeah, no, that's not the way it works. I have to pay my bills all the time. I can't skip it. And this is how I started incorporating kindness with books, with training, mentoring. I started mentoring people, mentoring my employees, making sure that they would stay with me, but then go and get a better job and climb the corporate ladder if that's what they wanted, or put them into business if that's what they wanted. And this is how I evolved and used what I really wanted to do, which is be a missionary. When I was a kid, I said, okay, I need to go back to that and do it in another way.
Yeah, that is a great story. By the way, I love San Diego, and my daughter studied in San Diego, and I always told my husband that we should move to San Diego, and he is like, "Oh no, 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 that is too close to Mexico." So he never. So we
Okay.
have been in the Bay Area for a long, long time.
Which
By the way,
school did she
it is
go to in
Delhi.
San Diego?
My daughter went
Okay.
to UC
I
San
went to
Diego.
San Diego State University.
Yeah. Oh, okay. And
Oh,
I love Coronado. So actually, we are going to Coronado next month. So yeah, we'll be
oh,
staying in Coronado
oh,
because I love Coronado. We went to San Diego many times because my daughter was there for 4 years. So, but we
okay,
never stayed in Coronado. We just visited. But this time we are staying in Coronado. She's no longer in San Diego. She moved out.
okay.
She's in Ontario now. So we'll be visiting to her place. But after that, we'll be going to Coronado. And yeah, I love Europe too. And especially traveling to Europe, it
Yeah.
is our hot button. It's a hot button for me and my husband. And it's really means I was born in India, but somehow whenever I visit European places, I really feel maybe in my past life I was here. Because when I went to Florence, when saw the Duomo for the first time, something happened in my heart. So I don't know whether I was involved in building Duomo or what. I have no idea. But Europe, traveling in European country is one of the really hot button for us, and it's really amazing. So your story is actually bringing back me to all my desires and dreams.
I, I,
It's really
I got
amazing. Really,
goosebumps when
thank
you
you.
said that, because I had the same experience. I understand completely
Yeah.
what you're talking about. I felt I
I-
I studied art. My major is art, not business. It's art, and I use art every day in business, by the way, in creativity and everything that I do. And in art, of course, I was in love with impressionism. Was my what I liked the most. I worked in the art department in the university. I knew all of the art teachers. My mom now is an art teacher. She married an art teacher, so I paint every day, not just write, but paint. And when I wanted to go to Europe since I was 12, it was my dream, and to visit the museums. When I went to the museums and I saw the Impressionists life size, that I saw very small in my books, I started crying. I started crying. I was overcome with emotion. It was my body, I had like an out of body experience of happiness
Oh
where
yeah.
the joy was spilling out of my body because my body could not contain it. And this was, I didn't know art could make you feel this way because I loved art, but it was mostly local museums in San Diego, Balboa Park, etc. Nothing like visiting the museums in France, for example. It was just overwhelming. And by the way, when you're here, please reach out so we can go to coffee. My wife and I love San Diego. So reach out. So I would love to meet you and your husband in person. And we are,
Oh, okay. You're in Coronado or San Diego? Because I think we'll be
oh,
in Coronado just for a couple of
I'm 15
nights.
minutes
Yeah.
from Coronado. San Diego is very
Oh,
small.
okay,
So
okay. Yeah.
Coronado is a city inside of San Diego, and it's in front of
Yeah.
downtown.
Yeah.
Yes,
I like the shore.
it's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Especially, it's
We're
really
there.
amazing.
We go to the
Yeah.
beach. We have family members who live there in Coronado, and down the road at Imperial Beach. But by the way, let me give you a little secret. The Of course I'm biased because I was born in Mexico, but the best part of San Diego is that you can eat Mexican food because you're so close to the border. You can go and eat Mexican food. So I crossed to explore all of the restaurants. When Anthony Bourdain visited San Diego the last time, and they asked him, "What is the best restaurant in San Diego?" He said, "The best food in San Diego is in Tijuana." Across the border. He got a lot of heat for it, right? He got a lot of heat for it, but he said, "Hey, it's the truth. What do you want me to say? You asked me, and I'm truthful." A lot of people don't cross the border. I have a
Yeah.
fast pass, so I don't have to wait a lot to cross, and I still go. I have family there, and then the food is just amazing. In
I know because every time we went to Mexico, we
Yes,
went by cruise. So cruise, is overloaded with
yes,
lots of food and all. But still, we went to all these places and we ate over there because that is what, yeah, my husband said. We will eat
yes.
what locals eat, and our guides were so good every time we went. And yeah, I remember actually. One place in Anthony Bourdain, actually he mentioned actually with this particular uh, place is good for eating and all, and we actually kept on looking for that. We asked our guide, then our guide took over there, so we went over there and ate. So that is what actually my husband and I, both of us, like to experience that. It's you live your life once, and why not to live to the fullest and just enjoy. So let's talk about taking five companies to public and launching over 1,000 consumer goods. So, what was the real secret about that? Maybe behind building the brand that sells? Because I have worked with so many people, and especially they are passionate about their dream and they really like to create, but somehow they are not comfortable with
I
sales and marketing. Sales is still, it is a taboo word. Means they think, oh, sales means am I using somebody? And I really want people to get rid of that concept because you are creating a win-win situation. You are sharing your expertise, which is very easy for you, and people are willing to pay because you are creating that result and transformation into their life, into their business. So sales is actually not a taboo word. It is the best thing you can share with other people, because even I was hesitant in sharing my offers. It was always like that, oh, I had the same
Yes,
kind of impression, but then I realized that I'm just giving the value, I'm just giving the knowledge, and if I'm not giving them
yes,
the call to action, they are getting
yes.
constipated with knowledge. So tell me about what is the real secret about this building this
Sure.
brand that
I call it
sells.
selling without selling, right? And it's in the it's built into the marketing karma where you're creating value. And I explored this first when I was maybe 19 years old, and I started working in San Diego in Plaza Bonita, which is a mall, selling clothing. And I never saw myself as a salesperson. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't. I don't think kids say I want to be a salesperson when I grow up, right? I don't think this is something that's part of any culture. It should be, because people misunderstand selling. Selling is influence. Like I said, when you tell your kid not to use drugs, you're selling. You and once you get that wrapped around your head, you will say, well, wait, I want my kids to be good people. Well, then you're selling. Immediately you're selling. Now, in a business atmosphere, I got this job selling clothes, right? They call it a clerk job, but you're not a clerk. If you don't sell, you're going to get fired. I didn't like selling. I didn't like the how my colleagues sold, because they were very pushy, and they tried, I have a quota, so they were pushing the customers. And I said, no, I don't feel comfortable doing that, but I need the money. So then what I did was I said, I'm going to save people so much money, they're going to come back. So what I would do is when a person came into this small store, clothing store, mostly men, they would say, or couples, a salesperson would approach them. Do you need anything? Which I think it's the worst thing you can do, because the normal answer is, I'm just browsing, I'm just looking, even if you need something. That was the answer. So quickly I understood that you needed to avoid that answer. Therefore, you needed to avoid that question. And by the way, they don't train people to do this, which just blows my mind. So then I would approach people and I would say, do you want to learn the secret to save money in every store in this mall? 100% would say yes. 100%. Now we're having a conversation, because I'm not selling. I don't even want them to buy in my store. I want them to save money in every store for the rest of their lives. So I said, I'm going to tell you the secrets because I know them, because I'm an insider. Follow me. And I would take them to the back of the store, and I would say, all of these are 50% off, 70% off. They were regular price yesterday. And this is a big secret that the retail industry doesn't want you to know. They shipped 10 boxes yesterday. We need to put them up, and we need the space. So then we cut everything and we put it in the back, or we put it in storage where you don't even see it. But I can get it for you if you want, if you're looking for something. So I'll leave you, and then if you need me, and then, no, wait, I'm actually looking for a suit. But I want the one that you told me in the back. I don't want to pay full ticket. No problem. What's your size? Well, I'm a 40 regular, right? I would go to the back, find 3 suits, bring them, and then they walk out with the suit, a tie, a shirt, maybe some shoes, and come back because they knew I had their back. Or they would send their cousin or their kid. And then a month later, I was number 1 in 11 out of 12 categories in sales without selling. This is how I discovered that if you give value, and if you take care of people and teach them the tricks and the hacks, and then they'll take care of you. And I was the number 1 salesperson. Now, some of these people had money. They didn't want the specials. They wanted what they wanted. But they appreciated so much my attempt at helping them save money that they would say, no, I want this one. I want the $1,000 suit. Because for them, the economics were different from the rest of the shoppers, right? The price elasticity, to throw in a word from economics, was simply not there. They didn't mind paying $300, $400, $500, $1,000, where I had to buy my shirts at clearance, right? To my collar working shirts, because I made minimum wage. So this is how I learned about selling without selling. And one of the things that I learned before this, and I mentioned it before, was the ability to learn. But it's not just the ability to learn, it's the ability to apply knowledge without having to live it. Let me repeat that because I think this is the one thing I want the audience to take. The application of knowledge without having the experience. The reason I was vice president of marketing at 27, CEO at 28, was not because I'm a brainiac. It's not because I was a straight A student. I wasn't. I was a dreaming artist that didn't concentrate in class. It's because when I was very young, I said, by the way, all of the other kids were geniuses in my school. They were straight A's. If you got a C, you were expelled from the school. So they were straight A's. I struggled, but and now I'm talking about some of these people are deans at universities. They work for NASA, and I mean, and these are Mexican kids that are so smart that U.S. company poached them, the government poached them, NASA. So this was my competition. I felt like I was a dumb kid because everybody was just so smart. I had to take calculus in my first year of high school, for example. And I was like, I don't even know how to add. And now I have to take calculus and 3 years of physics and organic chemistry. It was just a very hard school. So I said, obviously, I'm not as smart as these kids. What's going to be my thing? What's going to be my superpower? You know, I'm a scatterbrain. I think in clouds. I'm a dreamer. And how do you get those people to focus and do something and finish something, like a book even, right? I write 5 books at the same time because I'm a scatterbrain. So I said, my thing is going to be learning to apply knowledge, being able to read something and then get it and apply it and then teach it later on and then write about it, which for me is the ultimate. For me, the ultimate is not just teaching it, because I've been a lecturer in universities, but writing it, that's hard. So with this reprogramming that I had to learn from other people and then apply it, I was able to do the same with sales. I said, okay, I will study sales. Even though I don't like the way they sell, I will study it because I need the knowledge. So I did study sales, marketing, influence, branding, all of these things, hundreds of books, not 1 or 2 books. I read hundreds of books. Every book that existed that I could find, I would read growing up. And then I applied it immediately. This is the way I learned to sell without selling. This is the way everybody can learn to sell without selling. And now if we translate that into 2025 and beyond, is how can you create knowledge and entertainment? Well, I would do it with podcasts, with videos. Back then, I did it with books and writing because that was the media that I had. Now that I have the internet, I use videos to send companies public. I use videos to get an audience, investors, etc. So if you give your knowledge away with videos, and you can use any platform or every platform, and then entertain, you can be funny or witty or whatever you feel comfortable, or serious, right? You can have a bow tie if you want to, but create a personality. If you feel uncomfortable being yourself, don't be yourself. Create a personality. Act. If you know how to act, learn. Take an acting class in your local community college and learn to act. Don't give me excuses would be my point. If you don't feel comfortable in your own skin, it's fine. Act. You don't know how to act, it's fine. Go and take a class. I tell when I lecture in Mexico in Spanish, and people say, I recommend books in English, and they say, well, I don't know English. I say, learn. That's a very simple thing. Learn. You should know English if you're going into business. So learn, and then you can read these things that I'm telling you. I learned watching TV, right? In a border town, I had TV in English. So I learned watching TV. I learned to write by writing a lot in English. I was writing articles at 12 in Spanish, but I really sucked at writing in English because the logic is completely different. The sentences are backwards, and it didn't help that I had problems concentrating and the words would jump around. But you also mentioned taking companies public in your question, so I want to address that. Taking companies public is under a bubble of a mythology that it's very difficult and only companies from Silicon Valley and technology companies can take companies public, and that's simply not true. The majority of companies that are public in the United States are not public through an IPO. That's the minority of companies. The majority of companies that go public and the majority of companies that are public, 10,000 plus companies are public, do it through the baby NASDAQ, which is the over-the-counter. That's what it's called, over-the-counter. There's different levels to over-the-counter. You have fully reporting companies, just like NASDAQ, and then you have not fully reporting companies, used to be pink sheets, and now they're called OTC, over-the-counter. So this is how most companies go public. Some big companies have gone public through reverse mergers, and this is a terminology used, reverse merger, to take companies public. Or you can simply apply to be public through a form. The name of the form is S as in Sam 1. You fill it out and you give it to the government, and you, of course, you need your financials and you need a lot of red tape and patience and some money for your lawyer and your accountant. And then with the S1, they will send it to the inspectors, let's call them the auditors with the government, the SEC auditors. They will give you notes and ask you questions. Well, what are you really doing? How do you make money? How are you going to treat your customers? What is the service? You know, all of this. You have to work with the government to answer the question. And then they say, congratulations, you're public. And you pay the fee to be public. And now you have two businesses, which is the public business, and then you have to run your business, which is a completely different business. Now, I've done one IPO. I took an IPO through NASDAQ. So I already did the IPO thing, and I did 4 reverse mergers. 4 reverse mergers. The way I did the reverse mergers was I found the company that was already public, and they went out of business, but they maintained the public entity up to date. They paid the quarterly fees and all of this good stuff, but there's nothing there. It's only, we call it a shell. They purchase your company, and now you're public. Boom, immediately you're public, right? So you go under a public company that you buy. And now your shareholders, which might be friends and family, or if you already went through an A round or B round, their non-public shares are now public shares, and they can sell them without you selling the company. Now, I know people will have a lot of questions because this is how you really do it. It's that simple. The nuances are the problem, but the simplicity is there. Same with the IPO. It's simple, right? You apply, they say yes, you have to pay a fee to NASDAQ, you raise some capital pre-IPO, those people are the first out, so they make the most money, and then hopefully you can make some money someday. But really, the people sending the companies public are usually the last people that can sell their stock. So that's important for entrepreneurs to understand. Why would you take a company public would be my question. Why do you want it public? So here's the right answer to that question. Either because you want to acquire other companies and you want to acquire them for stock, because now you can acquire companies for stock, right? Not for cash. They can go sell their shares for money, but it's not money out of the coffers of the company. You pay them with stock. That's one. Mergers and acquisitions, it's a big one. A lot of companies go public through a reverse merger and then go and buy companies. So they did it with the intention of consolidating an industry. It can be food service, it can be distribution, it can be alcohol, beverages, it could be waste management, like waste management. So if you look at Cisco, the food service company, they acquired companies. They didn't start in every city, Waste Management did the same. They buy a bunch of companies. We call it in mergers and acquisitions a roll-up strategy, where you're buying companies. And I did my first reverse merger, which was my first public company, was a roll-up of wholesale distribution companies. And we took that to $100 million a year through acquisitions and exporting products to Mexico. That was my first one. By the way, Sue, this was my trial by fire. I wrote, this company hired me because they read my book, and I was their chief marketing officer. And they said, the first day, they said, come to Beverly Hills. We have a pitch to investors in a suite at the Beverly Hills Hilton. I show up with my suit and tie. We were a Miller distributor. So we owned a Miller franchise for Mexico. And this is why I was hired, because I had a strong background in beverages. And I'm there. In case people have questions about distribution, beverages, I'm the only Mexican, and this company's operating in Mexico. So I said, well, they needed a token Mexican, right? So that when they asked, are you Mexican? They would say, no, but this guy's Mexican. So I thought that's what I was there. And then the CEO explained everything about the operations. And then they said, well, let me introduce Jorge. He's Mexican, and he's going to tell you all about the reverse merger. Jorge, come to the stage. So I go to the stage, and I'm asking myself, what the hell is a reverse merger? I didn't know what it was. So that was my introduction into taking companies public. I knew absolutely nothing. Zero about mergers and acquisitions, zero about investing, zero about anything that has to do with venture capital, private equity, public equity, taking companies public. I really learned by fire, hands-on, by being in the meetings with the lawyers, with the investors. Luckily, I prepared myself, like we talked before, by having an ability to learn and apply. And very quickly, I started buying companies through mergers and acquisitions. So I started buying companies and participating in the mergers. And because of my idea of karma, that I wanted these companies that we were buying, I wanted them to succeed, and I befriended them. It was a wonderful experience, and we quickly operated efficiently, because one of the big issues with mergers and acquisitions is when a company gets acquired, the culture is very different. They suffer for years. They lose a lot of their talent. And we didn't have that problem, because I was so hyper aware of people and making sure that people were happy, listening to people. When we traveled, we always doubled up in the hotel, and I always tried to be with somebody from another company that we acquired, so I could learn the whole day, right? Talking late at night about their experiences, not only in business, but how they saw life and family and personal goals and kids and all of these other things that we may not see as business, but they are business, because you need to understand people in order to have a good relationship with them. This is how, Sue, I got introduced into public companies. And what happened was, as I got more media coverage for my books, because I've been on Forbes and I've been on Success Magazine and radio and television and Wall Street Journal, New York Times, I started getting calls from investment bankers and from venture capitalists. Hey, can you help me with this beverage company, with this vitamin company, with this electronics company, with this wholesale company? I started getting calls from big banks. I've done consulting calls with the biggest banks in the world, from Deutsche Bank to Chase to Fidelity, hedge funds, mutual funds, retirement funds from pension funds from schools. And they call me and ask me something like, we're going to take a large position in Coca-Cola. Can you talk about other brands that might take shares or market share away from Coca-Cola, right? And I quickly tell them that's not the right question. And then I go into what the right question is. And of course, then they call me back. Or when they have a brand that they purchase, they say, you need to talk to this guy because he's our beverage expert. And this is how I started getting a lot of people calling me, some of them in their way to becoming public. And this is how I was involved with so many public companies. Now, I've been involved with more than 5 companies. It's just that I've been a part of helping 5 companies go public with the funding, mergers and acquisitions, being more hands-on, right? But I've been on both sides of the table. I used to be, I also managed a fund. So I've been on the investment side as well. I've managed a fund 10 years ago, and I've also helped funds and venture capitalists invest in companies. So they call me when they interview a company, so I can ask them questions about branding, market share, postal distribution, pricing strategy, things that they don't think of because they're the money guys, right? I'm the boots on the ground. I still visit stores. I have an eye for merchandising, etc. A very long answer, Sue, for your question, but I hope I covered all of your.
Oh yeah, you covered a lot. You covered a lot. So just wanted to know more about your latest book, Marketing Karma, because
Yes,
I believe in karma, and I I'm deeply into karma, and many times actually you have things happening in your life, and you might be wondering why these things are happening. So basically, you are setting up your karmic record from your past many lives, and that is what you have to pay. So all that, those are my belief. And but when I hear from someone who is not from India talks about karma, I want to know more about their perspective. So tell me, you mentioned Marketing Karma, but I want, what is there in your Marketing Karma book? I want to know more
sure.
about your latest book.
Let me address it and give you the Indian answer first, and then I will give you the Western answer. So the Eastern answer and the Western answer. The Eastern answer is I am not from India now, right? That's the Indian answer. I am not from India now. Maybe I was from India
Yeah.
before, and maybe I carry some of this knowledge or spirit or whatever you want to call it. So that's the Eastern answer. The Western answer is in this lifetime, you can accumulate enough karma that you can see the results. You don't have to wait to die and to
Oh, yeah.
have another life. You can do it in this lifetime. You can do it even if you haven't done it and you're already 80 years old and you want to start. It still works. And if you're young or younger, you're not 100 years old. You have the rest of your life to learn about it and apply it. And again, I don't have to explain to you what karma means, but for somebody that lives in Mexico, in the US, in Canada, in Germany, France, in the Western world, I do need to explain it. And this is all, if we apply it to marketing, it is this philosophy of giving value without expecting something in return, because that karma doesn't care if you expect something in return. It doesn't care. You're going to get it whether you want it or not. So even if you say, I'm just doing this to give you knowledge or to help you, maybe you're a missionary like I was in my youth. I was a missionary, and I wasn't a missionary expecting something in return. On the contrary, you need to give everything away when you're a missionary, at least worldly possessions, and then you get love, right? You get love, which is the number one thing that you can get besides time. What I want from karma is love, and I want time, because time is so valuable. And I, as I mentioned before, at 28, I decided to focus on making time instead of making money. And the way I made my income after that, when I cut back my business and I didn't work 12 hours a day, was with karma. It was with value. It was with me saying, I will give to as many people as I can, and they will take care of me. I did it with knowledge. I realized that before I wrote my first book, I was doing a lot of consulting and mentoring, and I couldn't get to everybody, and most people could not afford me. So I would get 10. Now, I was good at marketing. So I would get a lot of calls because I'm good at marketing and I can create funnels and I know how to do, I'm a good copywriter because I'm a good storyteller. So yes, I know the traditional part of marketing and branding, and I applied it to get leads, and then I would call them and they would become my customers. But 99% could not. So I spoke with them and they had a great idea, passion, but they needed funding. They didn't have the money to start their business or their dream or whatever. So I focused my time on the customers that had money. But I always felt bad. I always felt bad. So I said, there's no book that teaches people about wholesale. There's no book that teaches people about the beverage industry. I know I looked for those books when I started in the industry because I'm a reader. The first thing that I said when I bought my wholesale business, I'm going to learn from books. Surprise, surprise, no books. It blew my mind, no books. By the way, I also wrote the book on wholesale. It's called Wholesale MBA. So I wrote the book on beverages to help and on wholesale to teach all of these people that I was speaking with that didn't have the money. Then there were so many of them that I couldn't speak with them on the phone because I couldn't. I was on the phone 12 hours giving free consulting, and I still felt bad for the people that I couldn't get to. So I said, I'm too tired now. I wasn't sleeping. I would go to sleep with the laptop on my stomach because I was trying to help all of these people. I said, I'm going to do a teleseminar. No webinars back then. A teleseminar. People can call in for free. Sue, I had 300 people on my first call calling in. 300 people, right? So then I said, if you don't have money, go read the book. You can get it from your library if you're broke, or you can get it from a bookstore if you want to own it. And then it'll teach you step by step how to start a beverage. I didn't hold any secrets. Everything, how much money you need, where to go, how to get it into 7-Eleven, everything is in there. I didn't hold anything back. You don't need me anymore. You don't need to call me anymore. Well, I quickly discovered, Sue, when you do that and you give everything away, more people call you, not less people. So I went from 10 people to thousands of people. My database from people that are in that industry right now is 30,000 email subscribers. I have a LinkedIn group with 50,000. I have another group with 12,000. Yes.
Oh my goodness. I need to get
I have
into your
another
back pocket
LinkedIn group.
because everybody told me LinkedIn
Oh,
groups are dying. Shouldn't get a
oh my
LinkedIn
God.
group,
No,
and
no,
oh
no.
my
LinkedIn
goodness,
group.
I need
This
to.
is a secret, Sue. It's a secret. Well, it's no longer a secret because your audience is going to know now. But this is my top secret for LinkedIn. Now, I still get over 1 million views on LinkedIn for my posts every week. So the normal LinkedIn works great for me. I used to be a keynote speaker on LinkedIn, so I'm very familiar with marketing on LinkedIn. I own another group with 50,000 for investment, and I have another group for authors, for people who write, which is 100,000 people. Now, what people don't realize about this is that LinkedIn allows you to contact these people for free without using up your in-names. So now imagine I have access to 50,000 people in the beverage industry. That's amazing, right? That's amazing. Not only do they see my posts, because I always pin the post to the top, and then LinkedIn pushes them to their feed. I also, when they come into the group, because LinkedIn still sends people to the groups. So I might have 10 people per day that want to get into the group. those people already see you as a leader, thought leader, or industry expert because you manage or own the group. So they're waiting, and then they text you, hey, please let me into the group. Like if you're doing it a favor, right? You're doing them a favor. And the secret there is not just to tell them, yes, go into the group. I don't automate that, Sue. I make it manual because I want to see who they are and I want to serve them better. So before I let them in, LinkedIn sends them an automated autoresponder that pops up, and I wrote that copy, but then I send them an email through the link, through the group, not through normal email, but through the group, and say, welcome to the group. I'm the administrator. If you're looking for capital, here's a link. If you're looking for branding, here's a link. I'm going to have a webinar next week about how to grow your beverage company or whatever. And then automatically I have 10 people, 20 people a day coming into my funnel. Yes, because I created this group and I manage it, which is the karma, because it takes time to post and to make sure that nobody's doing anything, being mean or trashing people, right? Because some people are mean online. So I quickly get rid of the mean people. LinkedIn helps me now. They have AI, and when they recognize bad words or hateful speech, they remove them. So really my work is more posting and allowing people to come in and interacting with them, which is your job anyway as a business person. But you see how I'm not selling the traditional way. I'm saying, welcome to this group. I hope this is valuable. Here's more value. And then, of course, they say, well, actually, I need somebody to help me. How much do you charge? And this is how it transforms into a paying customer. This is the way I use Karma. Now I do webinars instead of teleconferences. I do webinars, I record them, I post them. Our clips, when we're finished, I will do the same with our podcast that you're hosting. I will push it to my network, give them value, and then people are going to reach out and say, hey, I learned one new thing from your podcast with Sue. Thank you. They will recommend us, Sue, and then we will get business from it because that's how karma works.
So you are talking about the beverage industry, but I'm into digital industry. So how can I use your expertise
Yes.
for my
I am
business?
also in the digital business, and I'm on the board of directors of an AI startup that already has. This is something new. They already make money. They're called Prime, and it's a friend of mine who started it. And we're transitioning from a traditional model of 3D and animation for Boeing and other Fortune companies into full automation with AI. So imagine a plane parked in the San Francisco airport for advertising. All of that is done in the computer. It's not photographs, it's 3D. Now we're doing it with AI. However, we need to program the agent to do it so that it can serve all of the marketing managers, engineers from aviation companies. So a big project. The company already makes $1 million and we're transitioning to AI. I've been using digital marketing since I got into marketing. Before Google existed, before YouTube existed, before Instagram, TikTok, Yahoo, back when Yahoo was the biggest directory in town, right? So I learned back then, 25 years ago, I started doing digital marketing. I learned funnels from Oracle, the way they were doing their funnels back then, and I copied them by providing value. White papers are my favorite funnels. So the way I use direct response marketing I use Karma is with direct response marketing online, which we call digital marketing. And let me tell you how I structure a funnel for the digital age. What I do is, because I also do traditional funnels, but most of my leads now come from digital funnels. What I do is the following. And by the way, I've been doing the same funnel structure for 25 years. And it's the media changes, the funnel doesn't, because the funnel is based on human nature. What I do is this. I promise something to my audience of value that is worth at least 10 times their email address. So if you think giving somebody your email address is worth $10, I need to provide $100 in value. If you think it's $1, I need to provide you with $10 in value. If you think it's $100, because maybe this is an investment banker, I need to supply you with $1,000 of value. So I have all of these funnels running for different companies with different value systems. If I did a funnel to attract investment bankers, for example, I need to give them something special because these guys have all the money they want. They have so much money, they own the money and they own the investments, and they're the ones that are giving the money to companies. So I needed to devise a funnel that gives value to them because they think their email is worth $1,000. So I needed to provide something that's worth $1,000 so I can get the email and I can start the funnel with them, the rapport building that I do with videos, with podcasts, with autoresponder sequences. Like I'm going to send you a course, one video at a time over 5 days, a white paper. Investment bankers love white papers, by the way. So what I did was I wrote a white paper on the beverage industry because they would pay me $2,500 an hour for me to tell them what I wrote in the white paper. So I knew my white paper was worth $2,500 because that's how much they would pay me 10 years ago. Who knows what would they pay me now, right? And I would do a funnel and say, these are the questions you and your analysts are not asking about the beverage industry, and they can break you or make you. That was my funnel for investment bankers. 80% sign-up rate, Sue. 80%. They would give me their cell phone number, not only their email, their cell phone number. Why? Because I hit the nail, right? I got their pain point. I knew that if they invest $1 million in Coca-Cola, and this is worth an email and a phone number to learn the secrets, right? So this is a big funnel, but most of the listeners don't need a funnel that's so valuable. So my first funnel where I was an entrepreneur was to get distributors. It was a business opportunity funnel to get people that wanted to own their own business, in this case, a wholesale distribution business. When I did this, Google already started, so I did paid Google ads and SEO as well, but I got my quick hits from my ads, and I sold an ebook. So first I got the email for free in exchange for a free ebook. Then they had to pay to get the big ebook, $47. This was 25 years ago, 23 years ago, $47. And then they paid an extra so that it was a total of $67 if they wanted a video of me telling them about it. From there, if they were still interested, they would have to travel to San Diego, go out with my salespeople, learn the business, and then write me a check for $10,000 worth of inventory so they can start in business. So it was a funnel that paid for itself with the $47 and $67 that covered all of the advertising, because what I really wanted is distributors for my products. So it got in distributors, and then they bought product every month. So this is a very old funnel that I built. However, not much has changed. So now let's say that I'm doing a funnel for doctors, and I want to attract doctors that want to be entrepreneurs. And I actually have this funnel. I have it for doctors, I have it for lawyers, and then I have it for entrepreneurs. And I would say something like this. You're already a doctor. You don't want to be a graphic designer, a beverage formulator, a wholesale expert. You don't want to be a warehouse manager. And guess what? You're going to be all of these things if you want to get into the industry. Or you can just give me your email and I'll tell you the secrets. So that's a funnel that I use right now. I get a lot of my leads through LinkedIn. I do outreach through LinkedIn digitally, and I do inbound marketing through SEO and articles and things like backlinks and videos and what most people already know. The difference is how you measure the value and the promise. This is what people forget, Sue. The promise, which is a big part of direct response marketing, is what are you promising and are you over delivering on this promise? If I promise you these secrets, I better blow you away with these secrets. They can't be just generic chat GPT. You can't do that, and because I have the knowledge in my now I can train the GPT with my knowledge, which I did, and I feed it my books, which I did, and now it helps me write. Yes, but that's different, because if I do that, then my copy is referring my books. In page 37 of my book, I say this, that, and the other, and it writes in my own voice. Because I fed it over 1 million words so far, right, to train it of my own writing, and then of my speech patterns through taking my podcasts, transcribing them, and feeding them to the GPT. So this is how modern copywriters are doing it. We're writing our own. Before, I would write everything, right? 10-page letters, 20-page sales letters as landing pages. That's pretty much dead right now. The landing pages, sales pages are shorter than when I started copywriting. The same copywriting laws and rules apply. Shorter format, add a video, add images is my recommendation. With the video, I explain what they're getting, how to use it, and that I'm delivering and over delivering on my promise. And then I give them the information in video format, and I give them the information in audio and in copy, because some people need to read it, some people need to listen to it, some people need the rapport of looking at me through the screen. So I try to hit those different modalities in my marketing to become a richer storyteller. And you need to tell your story, including all the mistakes. Please start with the
Oh yeah.
mistakes. That's the most fun. If you don't tell all the failures, it's not a good story. But this is how I apply. This is
Yeah,
how
totally
I
agree with you.
apply all of this to the digital marketing landscape, to the software landscape, because I'm still involved with software companies. And of course, digital marketing is the basis of my marketing now.
So what is your next? What is your
Sure.
next project? And where
Yeah,
can people find you? And who is your ideal customer to whom you can help? Where they can find you? Of course, I know now you told the LinkedIn group and all, but I want to know what is your
sure.
next project and where
Sure.
people can find you.
People can find me at my website and subscribe for free and get a ton of value, which is jorgeolson.com, JORGEOLSON.com. And there I keep people informed of my projects because I treat it as a reality show to invite everybody into what I'm doing. And one of the things that I'm doing now is personal branding, not just consumer packaged goods branding. I'm still doing consumer packaged goods. I have beverage companies that I'm helping. I have vitamin companies that I'm working with, funding them, taking the product through formulation, manufacturing, everything. But I'm also doing the same thing with entrepreneurs by teaching them everything that I just mentioned, Sue, everything that I did for myself to position myself as an industry leader across many industries, including sending companies public now and venture capital, private equity, beverages, fast-moving consumer goods, manufacturing. I did it with the CBD industry. I did it with the beverage industry, with consumer packaged goods. So it's easy for me to do it, and I do it for other people now, not only for my beverage CEOs, but for lawyers, for doctors, for small businesses, for large businesses. And I even do it with sales teams, because now sales managers are calling me and saying, hey, I want this, but not only for me, because I have 10 sales guys, and if they don't do it, then I have to do all the work. So now I even do it in a sales team atmosphere. And even on LinkedIn, I do it where I take these 10 salespeople and I do a LinkedIn party with them, where I teach them how to post correctly for marketing karma, right? Not just buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff, which is the way they're posting now. So I teach them how to post, how to interact with each other's posts, because if you have a team of 5 people in your organization, you should be going viral on LinkedIn all the time with those 5 people. That's all you need. If you have 10, oh my God, each of you should be getting leads through LinkedIn like crazy. So that's my new project, teaching people how to do this to become thought leaders, industry experts, online and offline. LinkedIn is a big thing because I've been using it successfully. Some of them want to write books, so I teach them how to write books fast and easy. I do it with an interview, much like the one we're doing right now, with some storytelling and things that I've learned from writing fiction and nonfiction. And that's my big project for 2025, probably for the next 5 years.
Okay, thank you. I really appreciate. Sorry, I took a little
That's
longer
fine.
time than regular, and I still have questions. So I think it looks like we will have a couple more podcast episodes. But I really thank you. Thank you for coming and blessing our community. Our community is our family, and yeah, audience, I just would like to urge you, all the websites and his information, it is there in the show notes. Make sure to go and grab the resources. And hey, he is giving you so much so that you can up your business. This is a chance for you. Thank you, thanks again, and I'm looking forward to connecting with you again. And of course, I'll connect with you on LinkedIn, but I'm looking forward to do some more podcast episodes. Thank you, and God
You're
bless you.
very
Really
welcome.
appreciate. Thank you.
Success stories from busy professionals just like you. Jeremy L. says, excellent support and resources. The MRR Digitals provided me with the confidence and tools I needed to succeed in e-commerce. From day one, I was equipped to resell high-quality courses with excellent support and resources. My earnings have grown rapidly. This program really works.
Hey, thanks for joining us. We are blessed to have you as part of our community, and whatever way we can help you, serve you, let us know. Please subscribe and let us know how we can help you, what resources you want. We have lots of free resources and also free collaboration joint venture groups you can join and explode your business, because most solopreneurs quit their business before they launch their first products, and I don't want that to happen to you. And that's why we have special launch service where you can monetize your digitals and become profitable as fast as within 7 days. And if you want to scale your business, join our membership New Beginning Success Collaboration, where we'll provide you MRR and PLR products and collaborations so that you can scale your business with ease and effortlessly. And hey, if you want to sell your digitals all over the world, yes, we will provide you affiliates more than 200 countries. So everything is possible. Just live your dream, follow your dream, and whichever way we can help you, do let us know. Thank you and God bless you.